selling food to them back there. Burritos. See that? There's that guy. Y'all notice all the other agents are super chill. He's the only one that really gives anybody a hard time, really. All the other agents are super chill. Dude right here on the right is really concerned about what he's doing. He's super concerned.
Pero si me tocaba ahí, yo aguantaba hasta la hora que sea.
Es que uno tiene que ir, no es por nervios, porque qué nervios tengo.
Usted desde que ve algo ya usted sabe que es nervio. Usted sabe que se va a montar en un vehículo, ya usted le da ganas de ir. Usted sabe que
Con los nervios ahora va a ir.
desde que ese sabe que va a viajar. Tiene que llamar. Mira, está bien, me voy a quedar aquí, que tú veas, y yo controlo mi cuerpo.
No, yo es porque a veces uno va y no sabe para dónde llega, si hay
Me
baño.
voy a quedar aquí hasta la noche para que tú veas que yo controlo mi cuerpo.
That's why they do.
Yo,
A little taco sauce cat, bro. It was moving around a lot, and in the time of the moment, I'm like, shoot, that's I use a streaming service that hits all different platforms, but since I have multiple accounts,
Oh, that's cool. So you hit it all without having to go into every one.
yeah, yeah. This is nuts, bro.
numbers have definitely gone up. And, like what we're seeing, like look at all these males, all these young guys.
Let's stand on this side, so we have them behind us. What's up, guys? All right. I have a special guest out here with me today, guys. My friend John is out here with me. And being that we're out here speaking on the border and all of the situation that we're seeing transpire currently, who better than for me to actually have a golden opportunity to have him out here so he can elaborate even much better than I can into what we're witnessing out here on the southern border. John, welcome. If you can introduce yourself and let them know what it is that you used to do, brother. It has huge value what John brings to the table. Please listen to John, guys.
So I did a 24 years field office director for Colorado and Wyoming. So I spent some time retired when I left last July, but started going back down to the border. I started a consulting firm, started going back down their border and seeing how massive this problem has actually become. So I've worked on the border before. I was one of the chiefs of staff for Joint Task Force West in 2018 when we were dealing with a lot of the caravans that were coming up under Trump. But the difference is, under Trump, they actually tried to stop those caravans, and they had like that joint task force in place to do something about it. This administration is clearly doing nothing. I mean, you're out here all the time. You see these numbers. What the Border Patrol is dealing with right now is beyond compared to anything that we've ever dealt with before. I mean, as you can see behind us, it's just males, all young, coming across the border illegally. These are illegal aliens right now. They may seek amnesty at some point. I mean, they may seek asylum at some point in time, but they even haven't reached that point yet. They all came through a hole that was cut in the fence by the cartels, and right now they are illegally present in the United States until they can have their credible fear interview and then claim asylum, most of them fraudulently. So what we're dealing with now, the Border Patrol can't keep up with. I mean, you can smell the smell out here, right? I mean, it's disgusting.
Listen, and to go to that, what he's just piggyback of what he's just saying, I tell you guys, man, I hate being in this particular location, and I'm not making it up. This is somebody that's finally out here and can relay, and I didn't even touch on that. But the stench out here, guys, it's horrible to be seeing these natural areas just be burned down just for one night after an American citizen does this, John.
They'd be fined. They would get fined and probably arrested. Yeah.
If an American citizen was defecating out in open at a park, I think you'd probably have to register as a sex offender, if I'm not mistaken.
And there's thousands of pounds of feces, and we're not even kidding around about that. I mean, there's 1,000 people a night that sleep out here, and this has been happening for weeks. So you could imagine the amount of feces that's on the other side of the road from us. So they sleep kind of where we are right now. They walk about 100 yards, and they defecate all on the other side of the berm. And it just, like, you get out of your vehicle and you smell urine. That's the first thing that hits. And then all of a sudden your nose kind of shuts down on the urine smell because it's so strong.
Your senses go calloused on you.
And then you smell the smoke and the feces, and it's just really bad.
So how would you say, or how bad do you from when you were back in 2018? Obviously those were astronomical numbers for us already.
Yeah.
What we're seeing now, what is your take on all this, man? What is the first step in us getting this shit back on the right direction?
Yeah, you know, we really need to just look at the immigration law. What we have in the law right now is good. The Immigration Nationality Act is actually good law. They just never do anything with it. So constantly when a new president comes in, they decide that they're not going to enforce the law. And that's exactly what this administration did. The minute the Biden administration came in, Biden wanted a 100-day moratorium on deportations, started allowing more people, and closed everything off that Trump had done. And now this is the situation that we're in. And it's just, we can't keep up with what's going on. They're letting so many people in, they're not going to be able to do anything about it. Look, they're doing this on purpose. They want amnesty. That's what the Democrats want. That's what they're aiming for. They're going to tell us somewhere down the road that we have too many people in and we can't get rid of everybody, so amnesty has to happen. But they're the ones who allowed this flood of millions to come into the United States.
I personally, look, it's incredible. As transport units are arriving to pick up some of these men, transport units are arriving with more migrants that they are finding as they are driving in here. More military-age males arriving from other parts of the world, I can pretty much tell, are now arriving as we're out here. I lost my train of thought here.
Yeah,
but
just because we see all these people walking behind us. It's grown from there were 500 when we got here. It's grown. We're probably talking closer to 700 now. What we're talking about.
They're from Syria.
From Syria?
From Syria?
Okay, so Ali Bradley just walked up, told us that the group that just came in is from Syria. So to give you an idea of what we have here, I've talked to people from Senegal, from Mauritania. That was a group from Syria that just walked in. So we're not talking about South Americans that we have on this side of the border right now.
No.
These are all from countries in Africa, from the Middle East, where we've seen Chinese come in further down, toward the California ports. So I mean, this is a big problem, people, and we really need to do something about it.
And going to what he just talking and mentioning here, I told you guys a few days ago, I've been documenting and I found a group known as the Organization of Islamic Relations. That group consists of 57 countries. 23 out of 57 countries, I myself can vouch for that. I've personally documented individuals coming from those countries. At least 23 out of the 57 countries on that list, I was able to document coming through this particular location. Out of those 57 countries, let me elaborate a little more. Those 57 countries are 100% in favor of Islamification. They're on board with pretty much spreading Islam throughout the world. 56 out of those 57 countries are part of the United Nations as well. We've got to keep in mind, now that it brings that into, now you bring the United Nations into the mix, and you're bringing 56 out of 57 of those countries in there. Now we take a look at the Global Compact for Migration, which, like John here, was able to see a surge of migrants come in right as soon as President Obama left office, because Obama had a meeting in New York before he left office, and he secretly signed us into this pact of migration. He dropped a hot potato onto President Trump's lap. People could not understand why we had so many migrants coming at that point when we had such a staunch supporter of border security. We didn't know at the time, but we were into this global compact of migration, and that's where really before Trump, we never heard, or the term caravan was not really coined until Trump came into office. And so that was a big deal, a big reason of why we started seeing so many people down here, guys.
Yep. And again, what we're trying to put out for you guys to see, we're just putting our cameras on the situation, letting you guys see exactly what's happening. You decide for yourself if this is right or wrong. We just want to put the truth out there for you so that you can see it. Because look, the national media is not doing it. I mean, we see Fox down here. I mean, Bill Malusian's here. We see Ali Bradley here. But there's Telemundo behind us. But there's no CNN, there's no MSNBC, ABC, NBC. None of those are here. It's the same stations that are bringing you the news on the border. So, we need to do the best that we can. Allie's down here all the time, Ali Bradley. So, these are the people that are down here trying to give you guys the truth.
Yeah, so we've been covering this since probably May. Down here, we got a pin drop that there was a group that was over at that initial camp that you guys drove up and saw. And it's only exploded since then. We saw the floodgates welded open. They said it was because the monsoon season, right? And it was going to cause structural damage to the wall. And then they closed it 3 weeks early because we started seeing stuff like this. And now the flow continues, but there's just cuts all over the wall, cuts all over the structure of this wall. And I even asked Mexican officials today this is the second time since May that I've seen the Mexican officials out here. First time on this trip that I've gone up and talked to them and asked them what was going on, why they're not doing anything, why they're literally standing there watching them cut through our wall. And the thing is, you guys, it takes an hour for them to cut through that wall. It's steel, it's concrete, and there's rebar in the middle. It's not some easy task. They brought out a generator. If you guys haven't seen this, go to my Twitter, X, whatever it's called. They literally have a crew out there. We hid in a culvert for probably 4 hours and waited for this to go down because we could hear them.
She's wild. The story she was telling me
we
right
could hear
now.
them talking, and we're like, they're gonna come. And so we watched them drop off equipment, come back about an hour later because they have scouts. They got scouts running all the time. They got these 3 different SUVs that are rolling around, no license plates, blacked out windows in Mexico. They come and they drive along the wall and they're scouting the wall. They're always watching our agents and seeing what we're doing. We're always in reactionary standpoint with these people. And so we watched them drop off some equipment, came back, and we waited until they got like knee deep into it, right? And we're like, all right, now we can get up and film. We did call Border Patrol. They responded within about 20 minutes. So they made it about that far into the wall, right? Not far at all, like just made it through the steel and we're just getting into the concrete. Again, it takes an hour. Where is Mexico? Where are they? I mean, I've seen the police drive by. They don't stop.
No.
And that's some precarious area over there. If you're over there by the Trocadero, you're probably up to no good. Reality.
There's nothing out there.
There's
That's what I
nothing
try
out
to
there.
tell
It's
people.
between Calexico, right? Isn't that where it's from?
It's bad area. And watching Allie argue with the Mexican police is hysterical because
I'll be
she
posting
calls
it
them to
soon.
task. It's hilarious. When
Well,
she posts it later, watch it because she's a pit bull with the Mexican police, and it's actually awesome to watch.
Well, and then we actually had an interaction with the human smugglers, and we watched them push a group of Peruvians through. I don't know if you guys saw this. One guy had one leg. He needed a walker to get through, right? And so then the guy comes over and he's waving me down, and he's got a Punisher mask on and a Punisher shirt. After he flexes in the gap that they cut, right? And he waves me over, and I'm like, oh boy, all right. And I've covered a lot down here. That was the first time I was like, I'm either getting a rock to a face, I'm getting shanked, or I'm gonna get shot. And I hesitantly approached him. He started filming me too. I asked him, are you filming me? He goes, yeah. All just creepy, right? And then, so I showed him my punch daggers. I was like, well, I'm not an easy target. Look what I got. And he was like, ah. And I was like, yeah, chingona, which means badass in Spanish. And so these smugglers are so brazen, you guys. Border Patrol put up some like heavy duty wire around these 2 bollards that were missing to kind of close the gap. I mean, it's a simple trespass, right? When you breach something, okay, if there's a hole, okay. But come on, they strung wire up to say don't cross.
Right.
The smugglers walk out, they literally look at it and they go. And then 2 guys jump up and they go 1, 2, 3, jump, jump, jump. They tamped it down, man. And they just let people in. They literally line them up. They do this proof of delivery thing where they take their picture. They line them up against the wall, and the guy literally goes, go on in.
And there's no National Guard down here. I mean, this governor has not done anything to help this Border Patrol out. So like Allie's saying, it takes the Border Patrol a little while to respond because they're out here covering this situation. They're rescuing women and children. They're taking people to the hospital. They took 11 people to the hospital yesterday. Those 11 people took 13 agents off the line. Okay, and they're going all the way up to the hospital in Tucson. There are no hospitals in this area to do this, so they're driving for hours.
The other thing too, none of these people have been touched by Border Patrol. No initial
that's
screening.
important. Listen to this.
No, they are not getting a facial, recognition. No flags from immigration. Nothing like that right now.
We have no idea who these people are.
They don't know if they have weapons. I just found this actually right over there. So just found that.
Wow.
They don't know what they have because they have not been received at all from Border Patrol. And here's why. There's no facilities out here, no bathroom. This is a public park. This is a national monument. This is a toilet right now. Because if they bring facilities out here, they've been received. They've been apprehended by Border Patrol.
So we told them how bad it smells. How bad does it smell?
You guys, I was over there gagging before my live shot, and I can't say that on national television and be like, yo, but like it's singeing the nostrils. Like, it's something bad. And I've been in a mobile morgue of 28 bodies. Yeah. It's something fierce out here right now, and it's upsetting because a lot of times there are a lot of women and kids out here, and there are grown men going to the bathroom less than a football field away from them, and it's like, can you go into the bushes? They're right there.
I didn't want to tell your story about that woman. I didn't want to steal your story like people do. Can you elaborate? Can you elaborate on that story?
So I was watching a woman who was walking with a little girl. She was probably 6 or 7. And walking on the border road. So I know you can't tell because there's a lot of people here, but the border road is wide open. You can see it for like a mile if there's not a hill, right?
Yeah.
And there's a group of men, probably 10 to 20 guys behind them, less than a football field away, right? And the little girl just sits down, squats, pulls her pants down, starts going to the bathroom. And I was like, man, that's just not right. And I don't speak the best Spanish, so I put my translator up and I went up to the mom and I said, that's not appropriate. That's not safe for your little girl. There are men back there. And she just kept saying, she's sick, but there were bushes everywhere. I'm like, come over here. Come take your little girl over here and be safe. And it's just, it's different. We're, you know, how we were raised and how we live are very different ways.
There's a coyote walking.
No, that's a dog.
Oh, okay.
That's what I thought too earlier.
It
looked like a coyote.
But the thing is, you know, these smugglers don't care. They're brazen. I'm sure that they've gotten some heat from the cartel because of all the news coverage that they pulled back a little bit. But even yesterday, there was that bollard that was cut, and we watched. I was hiding again behind a big pile of bushes. The smugglers come out. There's first a scout. He's all in camo, head to toe. He's walking around scouting the area, and then all of a sudden, this group of 100 materializes in the bushes, and I'm like, whoa. And so I'm hiding in the trees, like watching between this pile of debris. I'm literally crouched down. And as soon as they start sending them, I'm like, okay, there's no turning back now. I can get up and watch because they're not going to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right? They're going.
Yeah.
And so the smuggler gets up on the wall. He's filming me. He's flipping me off. And I'm giving him the peace sign. And he gives me the peace sign back. And then he tells me, siéntate. Tells me to sit down, and I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna sit down. I'm not gonna sit down. I recorded the whole thing.
She doesn't get told to sit down.
I don't get told to sit down very well. And so I recorded the whole thing. Over 100 people walked right in. You know, the guy at the end waves. You know, there was a secondary guy that came up, and I was like, he might throw a rock in my face. And that's the thing. I'm not exaggerating this, you guys. Border Patrol has pulled me aside and they say, these guys that you're watching are notorious for having weapons and for brandishing them and throwing rocks. Like, it's not a made up thing. And the reality is these guys keep cutting the wall and doing stuff. And you got these new Border Patrol agents that have signed on, right? They're going to cross anyways under this administration. This is going to keep happening. Why are we going to go stand in the gap? Why are we going to go stop the cartel from cutting the wall? Why are we going to put our lives on the line when they're going to cross anyways? And
this administration is going to let them in anyway.
And that's the mentality that some of these guys have. And you can't, I mean, I don't want to say I don't blame them because they signed up to secure the border, but when they're in muster and their leader is telling them it's processed faster here and it's not about securing the border, you got new guys, and that's the message, right? Yeah. So under this administration, what you're seeing here is legal. This is happening legally. A judge ruled that they have to be able to seek asylum anywhere. And this is anywhere right now. They haven't been received. They will be transported. Some of these guys have been waiting 3-4 days. They're starting to get a little unruly because guys will be guys.
And mind you guys, not that they've been at this particular location the whole time. They've been actually dropped off miles back where they've been tracking for a couple of days to make it this far. So it's not that they've been at this particular location for 3 or 4 days. They're making their way. They're being dropped off for some of them miles on end, and they're making their way. And then add to that, on top of that, the ones that are being dropped off where they're cutting into the wall here, guys. So it's just a mixture of everybody.
And it's crazy. You talk to them, and you're like, what was the journey? And they're like, oh, we flew from, Guinea to Nicaragua or to Ecuador, and then they took a bus and took a bus and took a bus. I'm like, so no caminando, none of that no more.
There's
not
no
a lot of walking
journey
anymore. We're not walking from Africa, y'all. It's buses and planes and trains and automobiles. But here is the thing. In Mexico, they tell me, like, every stop along the way, they're taking a bus or a taxi. They're basically being stopped by who they think are Mexican immigration. That the cartel dresses up and pretends to be federales. And so they shake them down at these fake cartel checkpoints. We know that's a thing. So these guys are literally. And that's all part of the plan. The plan is to get them out of Mexico, push them out of Mexico, because if it's safe in Mexico, cartel doesn't make $13 billion a year, you guys. So they push them out. And here's the thing, Mexico tries to pretend like they're helping. They're like, we're giving them humanitarian visas. I've seen this in the caravan. They give them humanitarian visas to live and work in Mexico. Yeah. And here's the thing.
We find them all over the ground out here.
All
we
over.
Find all the visas
and here's
on
the thing, you ask any one of them. I talked to a guy from Guinea. He said, Mexico was never the plan. We can stay there, but we don't want to. We want out of there as fast as possible. It was never the goal. The U.S. is the goal. So Mexico knows that. I've asked Acuña when Del Rio was exploding, and they said, we didn't invite them here and they don't want to stay here. What do you want us to do with them? So they give them a humanitarian visa and say, look, we're helping. You know what that humanitarian visa does? Bypass every checkpoint and brings them right to our back door. that's what we're seeing with a lot of these individuals. They were able to traverse freely through Mexico with a legal document.
And a lot of the time, these humanitarian visas are only for 45
Yeah.
days.
Yeah.
Why are you going to give somebody a work permit for 45
Right.
days?
They have
It's
no
just-
intention of
No, they're not
keeping them
working
there. And you know, I always like to play devil's advocate. You guys know me. If Trudeau said, hey, bienvenidos, come on in, do you think America will be stopping everybody in America? You know, we got to figure something else out because Mexico isn't culpable in all of this. Mexico is an innocent bystander, kind of, right?
They're just
They're in the
being used.
middle. Nobody's trying to stay in Mexico, and they're not from Mexico. So saying go back to Mexico, they don't have anywhere to go.
A lot of people keep asking, how do all these people from Africa get over here? And there are smugglers in Africa that are setting this up. So you see people from Senegal here. There's organized crime in Senegal that's actually working here with the cartel that's setting this up. So they're making those connections in Africa.
They think they're friends. You ask them if they're cartel, and they're like, no, it's a friend of a friend. And you're like, who? And they're like, a friend of my aunt.
Yeah. So
And
this
you're
is
like,
being
okay.
set up in Africa, and then they're flying into places like Brazil or other places that are a little bit friendly to their countries, and are actually giving them visas to enter those countries. So they get down to those countries, and then the cycle starts to get them up into Mexico.
And then if they ditch their
across the wall.
documents, they can be bobbed from Venezuela.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
Yep.
I even talked with retired Yuma Border Patrol Chief Chris Clem. He outwardly said, we have major gaps. I mean, Christopher Ray said we have gaps in our intel. But basically, you only can vet them against what your
What you
system
have,
is. And
right.
Rodney Scott says it's an empty hard drive. So if somebody comes over, ditches their document over there, they don't flag in the immigration system or in Interpol, they can be bobbed from Venezuela, but they're really Chad from Senegal.
We don't have a lot of connectivity with their criminal indexes in those countries.
Well, most of them probably don't even have medical history.
No, they don't have medical history. We're not getting good bio. So what the Border Patrol is actually running is just what the FBI has in this country.
And immigration. So if they've been here before, it will
those two
flag.
systems are those two systems are the only ones that are talking. So if it's a new arrival who hasn't committed a crime in the U.S. or been flagged by immigration before, they're not going to be in the system. And it may take Interpol weeks to send FBI an alert, and that person's already in the interior of the United States, and who knows what they're doing.
And on the more modest side, it could take 3 days. These guys are getting processed within 36 hours. The law under Trump and under Biden, 72 hours. So if you get a flag 3 days later, poof, you got to go find them, right? And I mean, hopefully that the address, the sponsor address is legitimate, but we know 1 in 4 were not when the Office of Inspector General did that report. So we know that they're giving fraudulent, or they're giving what they can because they don't know anybody here. A lot of them don't know anybody here. That's the reality. You guys, I had a guy that I met. I don't think I met him, but I think someone over here gave him my card. He called me from Tucson, right? He was in Tucson at Casa Alitas. He called me seeing if I could buy him a bus ticket. Where's his sponsor? They're only supposed to be released if they've got a financial sponsor, right? Why am I getting a call from a guy in Tucson if I can buy him a bus ticket or a plane ticket to New York?
Yeah, it's
that guy was released without any kind of promise of any help at all. These people are being released onto the streets with nowhere to go.
We already see where they're going. They're sleeping on the streets of New York. They're sleeping on the streets of Chicago. They're sleeping on the streets of Denver. This is the problem. They're lying about having sponsors. They're lying about having family members in these other cities. And they're going and they're sleeping on the street and expecting you, the taxpayer, to pay for everything for them. Their food, their hotel, their stays. You're paying for it.
Right, because the mayors of these big cities that have been able to be the good guy are now saying, hey, we want what Biden said, 1.4 billion we'll give you. And they said, no, we want 5 billion. And if we keep this up, it's going to be 12 billion. Here's the thing that I have a problem with on that. When they put out that letter and they went around, they marched to Washington on this, not one solution did they offer to slow this flow or to get illegal immigration under control in any way, shape, or form. They want Band-Aids for the bullet wound. They want money to keep
your tax
processing.
dollars.
And that's where I'm like, dang it, man, we got to find a solution. And that's us talking to each other, having reasonable conversations. You guys both know I try to stay as middle as I can because my goal is to get as many people to hear this as possible. Screaming into the ether and into the abyss and pouring gasoline on a fire is not going to make change for us. So I continuously try to just provide facts. If it makes you mad, vote different. If it doesn't do anything for you, you're a little uneducated on this situation. You know, just don't come at me and say it's staged.
Yeah.
Get your head out of the sand on that one, because even Democrats know it's a problem.
While I have you guys both on here real quick, I want to get your take on what's this gentleman that won Dunbar, or what's his name? The one that wants
Durbin,
to
Dick
Durbin.
Durbin?
Yes.
What is your take on him now trying? And I've been telling you guys, I have my tinfoil on, whatever. I've been telling you guys that these guys would be used against you guys, and little by little, it's starting to develop, and it's turning into a reality, not so much a conspiracy theory. I want to get both of you guys' take. I know your thinking has evolved a lot from when I first met you to talking to you again today.
Yeah.
Like your mentality has changed a lot, and I can tell. I want to get both of you guys' take on what's his name?
Dick Durbin.
Dick Durbin.
Durbin again.
So
really quick,
as
if I
a
can.
as a veteran, I'm a proud United States Air Force veteran.
Thank you for your service. sir.
No worries on that. I'm proud to do it. It's ridiculous, first of all, that he wants to use illegal aliens to be in the military. Now, look, immigrants serve proudly in our military, legal immigrants, and a lot of them do get their citizenship through serving. They enter as green card holders, they enter as permanent residents, and they get their citizenship through service. But they're here legally. That is the difference. We don't know who these people are. We're not going to know who they are for a while. They have no reason to hold any kind of belief in the United States at this point in time. They're here for allegiance. They're here for economic reasons, okay? They're here to make a paycheck. That's not who we want. We don't want a foreign legion working inside the United States. We want people who want and are proud to be citizens of the United States, who are seeking citizenship in the United States because they believe in what United States stands for. That's who we need in our military, not soldiers bought and paid for to do the bidding of the higher masters.
Yeah, I don't know how this is going to play out. I honestly don't. Part of me is like, I'd rather have them drafted than my nephew Nicholas, right? Like I don't want my family to go. I'd rather them go, but then there is the loyalty or lack thereof, and that's what I have a problem with. Is like when it comes down to brass tacks, man. Like you don't have that loyalty to me and my family, so it's a tough one for me for sure. I can see the thought process behind it, like kind of what you were saying. Yeah, okay, if we're gonna be here, let's have them do the hardest thing possible, right? I mean, in Israel, they all have to serve 2 years minimum. Okay, you're gonna come in, you gotta serve 2 years minimum. Would that stop the flow? Maybe. Would that slow the flow if they had to serve in our military? Is that a solution? So I don't know. Again, you know, I gotta stay in the middle on this one. I don't know how it will play out. I don't like that there's no loyalty to the country. But I will say this, all the ones I talk to, they love America, and they love that America loves its immigrants. So there is that loyalty there.
They love Joe Biden.
You know, I did talk to a guy named Jonathan when I was walking in the caravan from Nigeria, and he told me he would rather have surrendered himself to the Nigerian government for death than cross under Trump because it was so tough. I will say that. And I posted that video on Twitter as well. So, you know, there's a lot of thoughts and a lot of things going on down here, but at the end of the day, there's no option or solution to turn the spigot down, even to just lower it. It's like keep the fire hose going, man. I mean, we got Del Rio sector right now is exploding. They got 5,000 people in their soft sided facility. No one's on the line again there. Everybody's
and tons
down
of Chinese entering, like you showed me earlier.
Well, and that's in San Diego, so that's its other problem. So we have 9,800 people from China that have crossed into our country this fiscal year that started in October. So in 2 months, we've had almost 10,000 people from China to show up. Last year, 24,000 for the whole year. I mean, like, staggering number. And why? I mean, our FBI...
How is that they're getting out of China?
So they're using a thing called WeChat, apparently, and it's
Meeting with
basically
smugglers,
giving them a whole guideline of how to do it, you know. And
So
I've
it's like
asked,
the WhatsApp that the Latinos
Yeah.
and I've asked OPA, that's CBP spokespeople, multiple times, like, why isn't China designated as a special interest country when our FBI director literally says China is our greatest national security threat? There's no answer. Pretty much chalked up to politics. And it's like, wait. And what it means if you're designated a special interest country, basically you get extra screening. So if you come from Mauritania or you come from
get an extra look,
Afghanistan.
yep.
You're going to get a little extra once over. That's if you have your documents, right?
And a lot of them lie that from where they're from. They're not.
And
they're
here's
not
the
good
other
in
thing.
country.
So I found a lot of documents from special interest countries on the other side, and this is interesting. So agents tell me sometimes they'll dump them. Also, I found some buried on this side, really weird, from Bangladesh. Anyways, over on that side, sometimes the cartel will take their documents from them and make them ditch them, because if there's proof that all those people from those special interest countries were coming through their funnel, it might cut them off, right? So they don't want them to know. They don't want America to know that they're pushing special interest countries through here. And I will tell you this: sources and statistics that I've seen have shown that out of all of the people from special interest countries last year, 40% of them came through the Tucson sector last fiscal year. So this is the hub for it. There's nobody out in the field. There's nobody on the line. The reality is these people could walk away. I asked what happens, and they're like, nothing.
They walk
Nobody's
away.
gonna go after them.
We've been on here live for hours, and I point the camera, and there's people literally walking into oblivion.
They might be going to the bathroom.
and
We hope, but I don't know.
Or praying out there. We find a lot of them praying.
To go to what
Allah.
she's saying,
I've seen a
according
lot
to the
praying to
Center
Allah.
for Immigration Studies, 75,000 at least that we know of, special interest aliens have been consciously released into our country. 75,000 that we know of. And that's just not the ones that we don't know, that have ditched their papers, that we don't even know who they are. It's hard to imagine a time when to be out here and picture this wall not being here. It's just like...
Right, and I think that it's important too. We're talking about special interest countries, and we're talking about these men from Syria, right? I just saw like 6 men from Syria. That was shocking. I haven't met anybody from Syria yet. They just filed out of a van. That they apparently crossed at the port of entry. What's interesting is agents tell me it takes for many of those Middle Eastern countries 1 to 4 months to get here. Right, one of our allies is at war for over a month, and it just begs the question: okay, are you leaving in a refugee space? What's your intent? You know, what's going on over here? So it is worth questioning. It is worth putting your eyes on. That again, it's not just hop on a flight and you're here. It's taken a little bit for them to get here, and we know that Hamas was planning this for weeks with Iran. Right, those things were reported. So. It's ignorant to put our heads down and be like, they're all good people, because as Rousseau said, we're intrinsically good. No, it's not necessarily the case. You don't become a world power and making friends along the way. They don't necessarily want to sing Kumbaya with us and sit around and be friends.
What are they doing with all the money that we're sending them?
Well, that's the one thing that, former President Trump was that if we're going to give you money, we're going to trace every nickel, right? We'll let your crews do the job so we can give your economy a boost, but we're going to send some of that overseas it. I honestly don't know what is so bad about that. I don't care if you're right or left. That seems pretty commonsensical to me. I think paying for them on the front end and the back end, we're giving $3 million, every given Sunday to Honduras, and then we're accepting 33,000 of the migrants. It's like, dude, you gotta pick one or the other. You gotta either give them $3 million to bolster their economy and help them, or you got to accept them. Doing both is running us into the ground, and that's what we're doing. And that's just reality. That's not politics.
All these countries.
That's fact. It's not playing going, I'm right, I'm left. It's money talks, and when we are in one of the biggest financial downfalls we've seen in quite a while, and we're shelling out money going, hey, put this, do this, and then we're expecting these governments where we know that there's corruption because we're accepting them based on the fact that their governments are corrupt. We're like, here's money. And it's like, okay, that makes sense. I feel like that doesn't make sense at all. So I feel like that's something that we can control, that we can say, okay, if we're going to buy Venezuelan oil, we're not going to have more Venezuelan. 66,000 came in I believe it was August. More, for the first time ever, was the nationality higher than Mexico. And so how are we paying them, up the hoo-ha for oil? And then we're like, bienvenidos.
How much money goes back to those countries? There's remittances that come from everyone that enters through here, and they're sending billions of dollars back to those countries. So the American dollar that's being sent by these illegals back to Venezuela helps keep the Venezuelan government afloat, because it's being floated by American dollars.
They're
being
sending
sent
it
back.
home.
They're sending billions and billions.
And then what you
back.
guys need to understand too is you see this proof of delivery videos. Those are threats from the cartel. They got their family, they got their friends back in Venezuela. They'll be like, whenever they get to where they're going, they go basically, if they don't have a place to go, they're going to stash house to move to next place. And they'll be like, hey, Remember us? You owe us.
Yeah,
And
they,
even if you
they
didn't, even
haven't
if you
paid that
paid
15,000
clean,
yet.
even
mate,
if
yeah.
you did,
Yeah, even if you did.
yeah. They still got you, man.
want
They
more.
still got your number. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the cartel. That's who we're playing with here. And as every agent has said for the last 2.5 years, they're the only ones winning. They are. I mean, again, $13 billion a year industry. They're literally laughing at us, taunting us, blowing kisses at me. They're laughing at us. They are not scared. You know what else? So I've seen Naco a lot. Men jump in the wall constantly, right? And I asked Border Patrol, shoot them down, get them down, handcuff them to the wall, whatever it is, because the smugglers put up a little metal ladder,
Yeah.
and they stand
Just
up
go
there
right
and they
over,
watch
yeah.
Border Patrol all day. It is literally on U.S. soil, you guys. The wall is always on U.S. soil, always, for a couple of yards.
Yeah.
It is not their territory. We could go over there.
Yeah,
we don't.
there's still a buffer zone. People
There's a
don't
buffer.
understand that.
No.
There's a buffer zone between the wall and Mexico. It's
Yeah.
not like the wall, you jump over and you're in Mexico.
No,
Yeah.
it's still in the
There's a
US,
buffer
yeah.
zone and it
Exactly.
varies.
And so I'm like, handcuff them to it and then go get them because they're on our soil. But here's the thing. So I asked, well, because they go, we used to be able to shoot them down with pepper balls. So I hear that and I'm like, oh, a policy change, right? Spidey senses. I got to go dig into this. Oh, something changed. The policy didn't change, you guys. The threat changed. Border Patrol used to roll up on these smugglers doing their acts, their nefarious crap, and would basically step to them, would stop them in their tracks. So the smugglers were instantly defensive. When Border Patrol would roll up, rocking them, throwing stuff at them, everything. So Border Patrol shoot back, because if they're hit first, game on, right? Now they have to be hit first. Go watch my video, see if these cartel guys are hitting first. They're laughing. They got out of the vehicle. One guy goes like this at Border Patrol with a fake long gun. As soon as he jumped out of the car, so it looked like he had a rifle, BORTAC was literally like, I mean, they're laughing. You know, that they're not doing something in the sense where they are actually, Border Patrol, the policy didn't change. The way the cartels see
Operate,
us
yeah.
and the consequence has changed.
Wow.
Put
Well,
down
it's
your
good
pipe and
talking
smoke
to you
it.
guys. We
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
guys.
Thanks,
Thanks
Ali.
for having us.
Appreciate
Thanks for
you,
having
Ali.
us.
Thank you, John, for being here. And follow Ali, follow John, follow them on X. You guys know where Ali's at. I'll be sharing John, we need to get
we've
his
retweeted
numbers
him a
up.
lot, yeah.
We need to get his numbers up. He's doing a fantastic job. And find out a little bit more into what he's doing and what he's up to on his X account. He's doing great work, and he's always giving great updates from the border, as Miss Ali Bradley out here is as well. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will be back with y'all here in about another hour with more updates from the Arizona southern border. Thank y'all. See you guys in a bit. Love y'all.